John Cena versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam was a great match. Today we're going to be talking about that match leading up until the unification match, mainly about Randy Orton and just our thoughts about the last few months since then. My name is Carlos.
This is Cameron.
This is C Squared, and let's go ahead and begin. So that match was, I believe, was a great match, one of the matches of the year. It was a great match between the two. John Cena actually wrestling injured that match. I mean, his elbow was messed up, as you could see on the following Monday. But the match itself was great. But I don't really necessarily want to get into the specifics of the match, unless of course you do.
No, it's just the thing that I enjoyed most about the match is that John Cena, even at 50%, put on a better show than a majority of superstars.
Right.
And it was. Had he not said anything, you wouldn't have known he was injured, other than that big bowling ball on his elbow.
Right, and since his return, since John Cena's return, I think he's been a lot better. I've become more of a John Cena fan. I've always been kind of a John Cena fan, but not kind of. I've been a John Cena fan, but since he's returned, I think he's been a lot better, and that's a conversation for another day. Now, the conversation starts with the ending of the match. Great win, Daniel Bryan finally the new champion. Fans are going crazy, and then the best part of WWE 2013 for me at that point happened. Randy Orton comes down with that Money in the Bank briefcase, and he teases it. He's about to leave. He's coming back, and you brought this up last time. He's coming in, coming out, and Triple H basically does the impossible, the unbelievable when he basically pedigrees Daniel Bryan, and causes Randy to basically cash in that championship.
Right there. That was because they've been teasing Randy Orton cashing it in for weeks and weeks and months, and we thought it was going to be one of those Dolph Ziggler situations where Randy held the Money in the Bank for nearly 11 months before cashing it in. So when he did come out, and even when he was about to leave, we were like, oh, okay, they're not going to get it. Triple H said, actually, and then just straight pedigree Daniel Bryan. That was beautiful.
At the end of that match, that was beautiful. And for me, I've said, we were talking about this last time, Cam and I, because we usually talk about wrestling whenever we're hanging out. And we've done now, this is our third recording, because we lost the footage the first time. Second time, we kind of went off way too long. And we don't want to cut too much, so we just rather start over. But we were talking about how that's how the angle should have ended. The next night on Raw, Triple H should have come out and, said, well, I want my guy to be the champion, Evolution, and just let it go. But, of course, how WWE usually does things, makes a great thing go terrible. It made the angle go a little bit stale there with, keeping the corporation angle.
The corporate champion, and it's crazy because I'd much rather them just had Randy Orton go on and do ruthless things, but it's just... It turned into him being basically a placeholding champion. That's what he was. He was not actually a champion. It was really sad that the WWE tag team titles were more relevant, and that the angle with the Rhodes brothers was more relevant than Randy Orton's title reign.
Right, and that's I agree. I mean, I firmly believe that all titles should be held to basically almost the same standard. Tag team champions are tag team champions. Intercontinental champions should be viewed as, one of the greats. Same with the U.S. Championship. Kind of how it was back in the day, even up until the 1990s, where if you were an Intercontinental champion, you were someone respected. You were someone who, no one just came up to you and just said, oh, you're a chump, let me beat you up. But you are right. I mean, in this day and time, if the Intercontinental Championship, the Tag Team Championship is more relevant than the WWE Championship, then there's an issue there. And this is, I believe, the reason this is bad is because after that match, they had a rematch with Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton, in which the next three matches that they had, or 3 or 4 matches that they had, it was undecisive. Randy would come in, he'd just get beat half the time, and then all of a sudden, either because they had a ref count too fast, and then the next night on Raw, oh, Daniel Bryan, they caught us, or, Daniel Bryan, or Randy Orton wins because of a cheap shot, or because somebody, kind of messes it up. They just had that for the rest of the angle there. So it was indecisive winnings. There was really no way of actually telling who won. Or
And
really, there wasn't really a decisive win for Randy Orton. It made him look like a weak champion.
and all the while that was going on, WWE thought it would be a brilliant idea to swap Big Show with Daniel Bryan's momentum. I didn't like that simply because I felt like Big Show's time has passed. He's a great athlete. Let me get that out of the way first. He's a great athlete, but he's held all of the major championships. It's time to give someone else a new reign. It would have been better if you saw a smaller guy. If you were gonna shut down Daniel Bryan's momentum, maybe throw in CM Punk, maybe throw in Dolph Ziggler, who got royally screwed over. There were other things that could have been done in that situation instead of having Randy Orton versus Big Show.
Right, and I completely agree. And we actually just kind of were talking about this same thing earlier, and we were thinking the reason they may have put Big Show in there was because he could suffer that loss. But don't stunt Daniel Bryan like that. Because they did a terrible job at making him look weak, though. Because you made him lose, but the crowd was always behind him to the point where you have this unification match. At this time, it was a week away, the following Sunday, and they're basically chanting Daniel Bryan during their entire inauguration kind of thing, or their press conference. And I agree, they could have definitely had anyone else in there, do that kind of thing. And for the next podcast, we're probably going to talk about that, how a lot of superstars getting screwed over kind of thing. So stay tuned for that one. But yeah, they generally did a terrible job at making Randy Orton look like a actual heel. He looks more like a baby, like just a whining, crying. John Cena said it best when you're finally going to become what you were supposed to be 10 years ago. I love Randy Orton. I'll always support Randy Orton, but it's become to the point where the company's made him look like a baby. Like he doesn't deserve that championship. At this point, I kind of wish Cena would have won, or because I get it. If you make him lose, he looks like a chump. But he could have they could have done a better job, especially at the TLC. We're gonna jump a little bit forward here, but when that last Big Show Randy Orton fight happened, where even then that wasn't even decision based. Like it was supposed to make Randy look good, but Triple H came out and kind of interrupted a little bit, and it threw Big Show off, causing him to lose. So I mean, if you can't even beat the Big Show, come on, what kind of champion are you at this point?
But the good thing about that pay-per-view is the fact that Randy Orton finally punted Big Show, because WWE's been teasing the punt for months and months, and the fans love it when Randy's just vicious. So when the punt returned, it was a great moment for that match. Randy Orton beating the viciousness that Randy Orton uses is just what made Randy Orton Randy Orton. When he beat The Miz in front of his parents, that was beautiful. When he beat down John Cena's dad, that was beautiful.
Even his own dad. He beat down his own dad. He RKO'd Hulk Hogan onto a car. Randy Orton is beautiful when he's vindictive, when he's vicious. So to make that man, I understand, he fell off a little bit after 2009, but come on, you don't just let him fall and then bring him up as a chump. You bring him up as a great heel. He has that potential. He may not have the mic skills of a CM Punk, but in ring, what he does with his, I like to think of it as Randy Orton. He's not a vocal superstar. He lets his actions do his speaking. He'll do things to where you're like, oh, that's what's telling the story. He doesn't have to tell you what he's thinking. He just shows you what he's thinking.
He sends the message without speaking a word.
Exactly. And you wanted to bring up Survivor Series?
Oh yeah, the Survivor Series pay-per-view. It's just, I feel like when Survivor Series happened, it ended up, you saw a lot of matches that were fillers, and you were expecting more of a spectacular pay-per-view because the last three have been duds. But again, you saw a screw over. You saw another indecisive decision. You saw the best part to come out of Survivor Series was maybe Roman Reigns' rise. That's the best thing I could say about Survivor Series. So,
Right, no, you're right.
after that, we go to TLC. Leading up to TLC, no one expected the promos. No one expected Randy Orton and John Cena to have a clean match.
No.
It was expected for another screw over to happen. Something was going to happen. Triple H is probably going to say X, Y, and Z because the promos that were cut they were great. John Cena telling Randy he's finally going to be who he was supposed to be 10 years ago. Talking about Daniel Bryan getting a fair shot, Dolph Ziggler getting a fair shot. John Cena acted like a champion, even when he acted like he was the undisputed champion, even though he only had one title.
Right.
He was telling all of these guys, "You're in line, you're in line, you're in line," while all Randy was doing was whining and complaining.
And the first thing he said right after that promo, the one where they were standing face to face where Stephanie got hit, he turned around and said, "If I win this championship, the first person in line for a championship shot is Daniel Bryan." So he acted like a champion. Now I'm not saying Randy Orton has to act like that. He's a heel. He very much should be, I'm the champion. I decide when I fight, who I fight. But he shouldn't have that complex to where he's begging Triple H to not put him in a match. He shouldn't have to, whine and need the Shield to be there for him. He doesn't need that. He's better than that. If you say someone who's a little bit, maybe Damian Sandow. We were talking about Sandow. He would have been a great company champion. He could have definitely pulled that off where, he doesn't look weak, but, he'd rather have the Shield behind his back. He'd rather, he seems like he could pull that off. You can't have someone who always spat in the face of authority and those above him
become a company champion.
Exactly.
It just doesn't work. And seeing Randy Orton win the unified title, we were expecting him to go back to vicious Randy Orton because throughout that match, he was very vicious. But the next night, he's begging Triple H not to listen to the crowd. What would have been Randy like is for him to cut the same promo, but as soon as Triple H turned around to discuss if he was going to fight Daniel Bryan or not, he should have RKO'd Triple H and walked out the ring.
Right.
That would have been Randy like.
Right. And yeah, definitely. I would have enjoyed that way much more than that him whining and complaining. And again, this is not a shot at real life Randy Orton. This is his character. Because in the ring, Daniel Bryan or Randy Orton's beautiful. That match with Daniel Bryan that same night, spectacular match. Of course, it had to end with Randy's character being a little bit of a baby, but regardless, that was a great match overall. And I love that he finally just RKO'd the absolute living crap out of John Cena right at the end of that match. That was just icing on the cake for me. I wish it would have ended with a decision. Even if Randy would have lost, let's say, but he RKO'd Daniel Bryan, then RKO'd John Cena, and just kind of went off on a rampage, maybe punted one of them. That would have been great. He could have lost the match, but just still been Randy Orton about it. But you're having him, win matches cheap, like no decisive matches. They basically went from having a very good decisive match Sunday night to an indecisive match Monday night. There's just so much inconsistencies with this company. They can really just have great matches. Like, here's the thing about a champion. Even if you're a heel champion, you still should win the match. Because what's more effective than, let's say, Randy Orton talks all this smack, complains, whines, cries about it, and then at the end of the day, still gets the win in the ring. You can't knock the man because he wins the matches at the end of the night. So that's just my beef with it. Because okay, make his character look weak, but at least his in-ring appearance make it look strong. You can at least make his in-ring appearance look strong, even though his character is very weak. I'm just not sure what it is that they're trying to do at this point with it. I'm hoping it gets better, but with the rate that things are going at this point, I don't see it going too far with Randy Orton as champion, and that's sad because Randy is my favorite superstar of all time.
And by the way, guys, in your spare time, if you don't mind, you should check out our friend Taylor Pugh. He has a YouTube page where he talks about football, basketball, and it's on YouTube. Username TDH space sports. That's again TDH space sports. Check him out. He'll talk about football and basketball and just give him your opinion. That's all for C Squared.
Take it easy, guys. Bye.